Hey, what's up? What's up? My name is Jolena. I'm here today. Going to be bringing in somebody for an interview. His name is LP. And basically, I'm bringing somebody in to inspire somebody out there. Maybe you want to become a EMT. Maybe you want to become a podcaster. Well, he's a little bit of a mix of everything. So we're going to get a little bit of information of who he is, how he becomes on Born to Be Famous. When I grew up, I want to be your host, Jolena, and I hope I touch some hearts out there. So let me go ahead and bring him in. Background is provided by #SelfDreamers. If you go on Google, type that in. My entire content comes up, no need for a business card. And you'll see the YouTube video of Workout Station. Travis Shyn is a great artist, and that is the music that's in the background, so make him into your playlist. So now we're just waiting for, I invited him in, so we'll just wait for him to accept it. And while he does that, I'm going to go ahead and share my live. So we are streaming live on Instagram and YouTube. So definitely check me out and get inspired. As we wait for him, I'm just going to promote this real quick. Oh, so there he is. So he's got 1010 Pending is actually his website. Make sure you check that out as well. Let me see. Let me accept it. There we go. Hi, how are you today?
Hi. How's it going?
Good, good. Let me just turn this down. So I have music playing in the background. It's by Travis Shyn. I don't know if you've heard of Travis, but he has beautiful music. So we'll be listening to it as our soothing music in the background. So welcome anybody on. Basically what we're doing is a show on somebody who was an EMT. He's retired now. He does have his own company. So towards the end, we'll talk about that a little bit. What I want to do is when you were little and you were asked, when I grew up and you want to be somebody, who do you want to be? In elementary school, they make you draw a picture. As you get older, we do some research. As we research, we're looking at people from the past.
Yeah.
This is the year 2022. So I want people from today, like what you're doing today to make money. How do you put a roof over your head? How do you put food on your table? How are you living to live? You became an EMT, so that's cool. At what age did you say you wanted to become an EMT?
I got into EMS at the age of 37. I'm 51 now. So I consider myself a late bloomer.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were actually 37 and you're 50 what?
51.
51. Wow, you don't look at all. Wow, okay. So we're going to have to know your top secret of staying young as well. Okay. So, wow. Okay. So, yeah, you were a late bloomer. So that's good because I want to inspire those people who are 37. Maybe you're 40. I know a couple 40-year-olds who don't even know who they want to be. And that is okay. And this is a guide to tell you it is okay.
That's right.
All right. So describe a challenging call that you've had and how you handled it.
Wow. Out of tens of thousands since 2007. Let's see. I had a call one time where a young man, he was a teenager. This was summertime. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and that's where I worked and practiced until I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2020. There was a young man, teenager. This is July. I believe this was July 2019, actually. He was cutting grass in the neighborhood to raise money for whatever he wanted to do. You know, he didn't have a summer job, but he made his own job. He was like an independent contractor, I guess you can say.
Right. Okay.
And so the call came out as a foot injury. So we get there, police get there, and this guy is like sitting on the porch screaming his head off. And people are kind of running around and they're running up to the ambulance like, please hurry up, you know. And we're like, okay, what's going on? And they said, he cut his toes off. And so we grab our trauma bag, we run up to the porch, and he's sitting on the porch just bawling. And he has a big brown towel wrapped around his left foot. And so I'm talking to him, you know, I kneel down to him, I get almost eye level, maybe a little shorter than eye level. And he's just inconsolable at this point. And I'm like, sir, I'm Larry, how are you doing? You know, and he won't talk to me. He's just crying and he's like, I'm just stupid. And I said, I need to see your foot. He's like, no. I'm like, sir, I need to see your foot to see how much damage you have, to see if it's still bleeding. Because if it is, there's certain things that I got to do, and I got to wrap it up, and we got to get you to the hospital.
Right.
And he's like, no. I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. And so I grabbed his hand and said, I want you to tell me what happened in 30 seconds. And then we got to go. Okay? I can't let you sit here and bleed out. And I don't know how bad you're bleeding. So, because this towel is soaked. It's a big dry towel, basically. And so he said basically he was cutting grass, kind of on a hilly slope. He had on flip-flops. And he reached in his pocket to get his phone, and he was pushing it, and it was kind of one of those self push motors.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And he said when he reached down to get his phone, he pulled the lawnmower back, and his foot was kind of stuck in the way, and it went over the back edge, went over his toes, and he said that's what happened. And I was, oh my God. So finally he let me unwrap the towel, and two and a half of his toes were cut off.
Oh my God.
And so we wrapped him up with all the trauma dressings and all the stuff. We get him on the ambulance. I give him some fentanyl. And we're on our way to the hospital. And the whole way to the hospital, I'm talking to him like a father. And I'm like, you know, I didn't call him son. I forget his name, and I wouldn't say it anyway because of HIPAA. And I was just talking to him. And I'm like, you know, this is an accident. Of course, you didn't mean to do it. Accidents happen all the time. I said, you know how many accidents I come across on a regular basis? And it's some of the most simple things that you would never think of, but things like this happen, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be okay. You know, it could have been way worse, and I've seen way worse. So trust me. And they can do a lot with reconstructive surgery nowadays. So I just want you to stay focused. And, you know, I was asking about the pain, and I started doing all my other interventions and stuff or whatever. And I got him talking about him after that. I didn't talk anymore about the injury or what happened and all this stuff. And I was asking him about his day before that. What is he into? I started playing music because we had like a 15-minute ride, lights and sirens to the ER. And, you know, we had a pretty good conversation under the circumstances. And, you know, it just made me think that my job is more not just about bandaging and giving IVs and putting people in medically induced comas and all this stuff. My job is about making an assessment for people that are hurt, injured, dying, or dead, and being a compassionate human being. Because at that moment, he didn't need just some first responder, oh, I'm the medic, you know, I'm the big guy and all this stuff, or whatever. Do as I say, not as I do, and all this stuff, and you're going to follow every instruction. You needed a human being that could relate to your trauma at this point.
Right. Support. He needed that support. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. And how did you remain calm throughout this process, as being in the situation, seeing the situation, seeing someone screaming, and all that heart racing? How do you stay calm and collective and to soothe that other person?
My paramedic instructor, his name is Monroe Yancey. I'm just gonna put his name out there because this guy is the best. He's trained over 4,000 paramedics in the St. Louis area for over 30 plus years. He used to be the chief paramedic for St. Louis City EMS and Fire, and now he's the primary instructor of IHM Academy of EMS, which is the EMT paramedic and critical care class that I went to.
Okay.
He said when you first get into EMS, one of the first things that you want to do is when you get a call, a 911 call, no matter what the call is, and he raised his sleeve up and he started checking his radio pulse. He said, you want to check your own pulse because if you're all jittery and all over the place, you're not going to be able to be focused on what the call is. And that's going to make you miss stuff. And that stuff can be the difference between life and death. So you always check your own pulse for 5-10 seconds. Do a woosah, 5-10 seconds, whatever, while you're getting ready to go en route.
Right.
And you got to be calm. I added another component to that. I think about the movie The Departed with Leonardo DiCaprio. There's a scene where he's in the office talking to his therapist while he's undercover. And he's sitting back in the chair, and she was asking him, how does he deal with all of this stuff that he's dealing with all these bad guys and all this crime. And he stuck his right arm out, and he did like I call it the dive board maneuver with his hand. And he said, you see my hand? You see how it doesn't tremble? But in here, I'm all palpitations and all that stuff, whatever. But if people see me all nervous and stuff, I'm going to get killed. And I thought about that, even though that came years later, but I added that to my mindset because I have to be the eye in the storm. I have to be calm. I have to be professional. I got to be laser focused. I can be in a room and there's 20 people in that room with all kind of stuff going on. I'm able to listen to everything that's being said from each one of those 20 people and discern what I need to hear, understand, and throw away. If you're a good medic, you'll learn how to do that. And I tell you, it's amazing.
Okay, so that's something you think that right there that you said, you think that's something that you like start learning how to do. It's not like it's just natural. It's just like something that you actually learn how to do.
Yeah, and it's not like I sat at home, on a every day for an hour I practice doing it, because you can't really, can't do that. But throughout 14 plus years, I've learned how to do that relatively quickly. It didn't take a long time for that to happen. And I think I would say that most first responders, especially EMS and fire, can do that. Because we're used to noise, sirens, yelling and screaming, people panicking and all this stuff. Everybody coming up to you because they want you to help and they want you to put out the fire. They want you to treat their patient, their loved one, and all this stuff. So it's always mayhem going on. And we tend to be masters of mayhem.
True. Interesting. Okay. And to become an EMT, right, or EMS, how many years does it take for school? Is it a school, like college degree you need, or is it training school? What kind of certification did you have?
I started off at St. Louis Community College at Forest Park. Okay. So that's the main 2-year community college in St. Louis. And they have 4 total. That program was a 1-semester program. It was like 3 months. And at that time, I think it was like $600,
Okay.
And so,
wow, not bad.
EMT and a paramedic program, typically you can take either at a community college or you can take it at a private institution.
Okay.
So where I worked for a paid fire department, and I worked for a private EMS service. The private EMS service that I worked, they had their own EMS academy. And so they
Okay.
taught EMTs, paramedics, and they taught critical care paramedicine, which is just a certificate program by itself just for paramedics. All paramedics are EMTs, but not
Okay.
all EMTs are paramedics. You start off as
Oh,
an
okay.
EMT basic, then you go to the next level of schooling that gets you an advanced EMT certification. And then the top level is me, EMT hyphen paramedic. And then you can earn
Okay.
a number of different certifications. You can earn the tactical paramedic, which works with a SWAT team. You can earn a critical care paramedic certification or a flight medic certification. So you're working on a medical
Okay.
helicopter or rotary wing group. Those programs typically as a medic are about a year. Sometimes they can be a year to 2 years, depending on where you're going. If you take one of those classes at a college, or whether it's a 2-year or 4-year, because there are some 4-year colleges and universities that offer a bachelor degree or an
Okay.
associate's, that's fine too. And as far as fire, they offer a fire science degree. Those typically are for officers that want to
Right.
move up in rank. But for an EMT or paramedic or firefighter, all that is certificate based. You don't have to
Okay.
have a degree. You don't need a degree.
Okay. True. Okay. Interesting. Wow. And okay, so back then when you were studying, you were 37. While you were studying, did you work at the same time? You were
Oh yeah.
working. You were working
Oh, full time. Yeah.
full time. Okay. Okay.
And I
And
was a
at
full time.
that, okay, so you were a parent and everything.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
so you went to school full time for this, and you're a parent at the same time. How did you stay focused?
You just got to do what you got to do. You know, I worked full time. I was in school full time, so I was going to school 2 days a week,
Hmm.
and I had to do clinicals also.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
now EMT
You
school is a
worked
lot.
school
Yeah,
clinicals. Uh huh.
EMT school is a lot easier because you got a smaller number of clinicals. But when you're in medic school, that whole year you are focused on, you got clinicals, you got classwork. You got to get prepared for the psychomotor, which is the hands-on test, which is a
Hmm.
national test, and
Hmm.
you got to take the written test, which gets you your license. And those clinicals, you got to do over 1,000 hours of clinicals.
Wow. Phew.
And depending on where you're going, like the school I went to, you had to do all that stuff within that year of your program before you even graduated.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so you just have to focus. And it's priorities. We all have the same 24 hours in a day.
Right.
What you do with it, yours makes the difference. So, our circadian rhythm was off. I would be, if I could get 4 hours of sleep on average, I was good. A day.
4 hours of sleep. Wow. Okay.
Plus, you got to study also. So
Right.
and
That's what I
that's
was
not
thinking.
including taking care of the kids. That's not even including showering and eating and all that stuff. So you're doing you become a master of multitasking.
Okay. Right. Everybody has to do it.
Everybody has to do it.
Everybody has to do it. Okay. And okay, so motivation wise, when you were first starting out, right? We all first start out on something and we're not going to be perfect at it. What was your lowest score you had that you remember?
I had to redo one test, and I think it was over. I failed a what was the test? I had to redo a cardiology test that I had, where we were interpreting EKG strips, because
Oh
I
yeah,
hadn't
those are
really
hard.
studied that night. I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't really studied that night, and so I got like, I don't know, like a 56 or something on the test or whatever. Every test
Uh-huh.
that we had, you had to pass with is 74 or higher.
Which is like a C back then, right?
And so my instructor, he looked at me. He said, "Why didn't you study?"
Right. That's what I thought.
I was like, "I did study." He said, "No, I'm going to ask you again. Why didn't you study?" I said, "I studied. I just didn't do it long enough." And he said, "Okay, I want you to go back home, study, come back tomorrow and take this test or whatever." And when I took it again, I got like a 88 or something like that on the test or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And so that was the lowest, and that was the only test that I had ever failed in EMT or paramedic school.
Okay, that's good. Wow. Okay, that's amazing. Yeah. And okay, so throughout school, what had kept your motivation, your inspiration, the confidence of knowing that you would complete?
That's a great question because I went to paramedic school twice.
Okay.
I took the EMT course, passed it, got my license. Started working as an EMT. Less than a year later, I took the paramedic course. So this is 2008. Mm-hmm. Went to the paramedic school, passed everything. Only thing I had to do was take my written test. And this was 2009. My ex-wife and I, we separated. Mm-hmm. And we went through this horrible separation because we have 6 kids. We have 5 boys and 1 girl in that order.
Oh, wow.
And so we had a real bad separation, which led to a divorce a number of years later. But there was so much turmoil that was going on with that. I was not able to focus on taking my written test. And so time went on. I kept up all my certifications, even though I didn't have to, because as an EMT basic, you don't need but one certification, and that's your CPR. Right. But all my paramedic certifications, I kept, because those you renew every 2 years, I kept those up because I knew my goal was to become a paramedic. So in 2016, I went back to paramedic school. Mm-hmm. And I knew I was going to have to start all the way over because so much had changed and I hadn't been studying and all this stuff or whatever. I had to start over from scratch. I'm talking about doing all those clinicals and everything. Like I started over like I had never done it.
That's so frustrating. Even just like to actually go to school, right? Go to that desk, to sign up, to listen to that. You got to start all over. To actually say like, damn, I'm really going to do it all over. Like you actually did it.
And I'll tell you the conversation real quick that I had with my instructor because he's the one that got me into EMS, and we'll talk about that soon. He looked at me and he said, "You know, I hope this is not an issue of pride because you have a goal that you want to achieve. F everybody else." Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not going to curse on here, but F everybody else. You got a goal that you want to achieve. This is about you. This is about your life, your career, and your family. If anybody else got a problem with it, then they got a problem with it. What do you want to do? Because you can go and do something else. Or you can say, there are people that work at that company that I work for. Mm-hmm. I know one of the guys that I used to work with, he's just celebrated his 40th anniversary at that company as an EMT basic. So he said, you can be an EMT basic all you want for as long as you want. But what is your goals? If that's not your goals, if that's not your end game, then you come to this class. He said, and actually, you're going to do better because you've already been through the program. You already know what to expect. Mm-hmm. The tests pretty much are the same tests. The information is pretty much the same. There's going to be some new updated stuff, but everything else is the same. You've done all the clinicals. Like, you've basically been almost working as a medic with all the people that you've been working with. I was training people as a preceptor all the way up until maybe the year before I went back to medic school or whatever. And the people that because I was an adjunct, mm-hmm. And I'm a Missouri State certified preceptor, so I can train EMTs and paramedics. I can't certify them, but I work with them as they're getting ready for their tests and all that stuff. I train so many people that end up getting their license, and they're like, "Why don't you have yours yet?" And I'm like, I got to go into that whole spiel about what happened with me. And I'm like, but I got to get my goals set and I got to achieve the things that I want. So that's how I end up going back with a whole laser focus and saying, hey, you know what? I end up being the president of the class and all that.
Oh,
So it was a great experience.
that's crazy. And I guess too, it's like no matter what we're doing in life, people like to see that paper. To say, yeah, I am certified in doing this. Even though you had all that training and all that
Yeah.
knowledge, when it comes down to actually get that paycheck, like
Yeah.
the way it's all set up, it's you do have to get that certification.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
so it's cool to hear a story like that because that what's happened to a lot of people is that confusion of I'm good at this, but I have this as my goal, and but I need this to get money to put roof over my head, and then you're in that situation, and it's cool to meet somebody who is actually in the situation, and you're continuing on your life now at a point where you've opened up your own business and you're doing your own thing and you're able to feel that soul of yours, but you've had so much knowledge that you're also able to pass on to others. And that's the purpose of
Mhm.
life, is to learn and to teach, right? So I think that's
That's right.
amazing. So the other question I got is, while in school, you have kids, you're older, you're working. What was your go-to meal, and how did you balance life, trying to stay maybe healthy? I mean, I'm guessing you were healthy being an EMT, but I don't know. So you tell us.
You know, fast food is your friend when you're in school.
Okay.
It's very hard, not impossible and not difficult, but it's very hard, especially when you only getting 4 hours of sleep. You know, planning meals and all that stuff. Fast food became your best friend.
True.
Uh, I'm telling you, I spent so much money at 7-Eleven and Mickey D's and some of these other places because you're always on the go. And
All
if you're
right.
not on the go, you know, it was hard for me to, and it wasn't impossible, but it was just very hard for me to always cook. But I love cooking and I would cook. But I'm telling you, when I was at work or when I was at school, a lot of times, you know, I didn't brown bag it a lot. I would just buy stuff on the go.
True.
And that's, you
Do
know,
you
that's what's
think
the thing.
Do you think back then, right? Let's say back then we met and I introduced you to Herbalife. Do you think that that would have been something would have been beneficial for someone like you? Just where you just make a quick shake and you go, or you just shake it and turns into a shake. Would you have
Absolutely.
preferred that?
Yeah. Yeah. And I like eating healthy, you know, so those things, and, you know,
That's what I'm drinking now,
most
actually.
people eat, yeah, most people eat fast food, but I was in class with people that would eat salads every day, or they had, you know,
True.
protein drinks, you know, protein shakes and different things like that. And I would drink those sometimes, you know, maybe once or twice a week. I was in class uh, one day a week, the second time when I was in medic school. But yeah,
Right.
you would have there were a number of people that would be in there, and most of them were women that were in the
Okay.
class that would eat
Eating salads.
eat healthier.
True.
Yeah.
True. And before, okay, so now coming back to before becoming an EMT, this is a show on what did you want to be when you were a child? As a child, what was your actual dream job?
I wanted to be on television as a meteorologist.
Okay, you know what? You have the voice too. Uh,
Really?
Yeah, there is this one. I don't remember his name, but I do remember when I was a kid listening to the weather, and there was this one guy, and he wore glasses that actually looked like the ones that you have on, and his voice sounded kind of like yours. So yeah, I definitely could see it in you. Okay, interesting. And at what age did you decide to actually retire from being an EMT? You started at 37 in school. You are 51 now.
Yes.
So at what age did you actually retire?
I retired May 20th. No, I'm sorry, May 21st, 2020, after being on the front line as a COVID paramedic.
Okay.
The reason I decided to retire was when COVID hit. So we started hearing about COVID in late January.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
February, it hit the US. And so March comes around. We're starting to, you're starting to hear more and more about it. And I worked at a fire department that was composed of 17 municipalities and a few unincorporated municipalities
Mm-hmm.
that covered 3 zip codes. We had the highest number of COVID cases in the state of Missouri.
Okay.
And I worked for one of the largest fire departments in St. Louis County.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the crew members started getting COVID. We were having patients left and right that were getting COVID.
Mm-hmm.
When I worked at the private EMS service, a lot of my coworkers were getting COVID. It wasn't a matter of if, but when I was going to get it. And if I didn't get it, I would be more than likely a carrier. My wife has a number of autoimmune issues.
Okay.
And after talking with her doctor, basically we found out that if she were to get COVID, the probability of her dying or being severely injured would be too astronomical.
Mm.
We had planned on moving to Charlotte in 5 years. And so we were waiting for our girls to graduate high school. So at the latest, we would have moved in 2026. And so a couple of things happened. I had sole legal and sole physical custody of my daughter, and I allowed her to go back and live with her mom. So we went from sole legal custody to joint custody between us.
Mm-hmm.
When COVID hit, I told my wife, I said, why don't you go to Charlotte and shelter in place with your family? Because that's where she grew up.
Okay.
She was born in New Bern, which is around the Outer Banks of North Carolina, but she was raised in Charlotte. And so I said, why don't you go to Charlotte for about a week until this thing kind of blows over. Packed up a week's worth of clothes. A week later, the shutdown happened. And we were like, okay, what do we do now? Because I'm in the thick of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working at the fire department, so I'm working 48-hour shifts. So you work 2 days on, 4 days off. And on my days off, I was working at the EMS service. So I'm getting COVID patients left and right, left and right, left and right. And I'm seeing my coworkers go down with COVID. Nobody that I work with that I know died. But there were people, especially high up on the chain at the fire department, who almost died, who had to be on the ventilators, who had to go in ICU and all this stuff. So
Wow.
I made a decision with my wife to go ahead and retire because I'm like, I don't want to lose you. And my philosophy is never get attached to a building unless you own it or your name is on it. I learned that from my mom because she always said you're an independent contractor. You can always get another job, and you live in an at-will employment state where you can leave a job whenever you want, and you can get fired anytime that employer doesn't want to have your services, except for discrimination.
Right.
So always have a mindset of not being attached to a building unless you own it or your name is on it, because then you call the shot.
Okay, I get it.
And I said, okay, well, we can move to Charlotte earlier. I can retire and I can go to nursing school because that was my next goal. Because I never wanted to work on the ambulance for 20 plus years. And I didn't want to do fire when I first got in. When I first got into EMS, I wanted to just focus on being a medic. I was like, I don't want to run into no burning buildings. Let them bring the patient out to me or whatever.
Okay, I see what the choices were. Okay.
But the fire department I ended up getting hired at, I knew a lot of the crew members there because I used to go to that fire department to do my clinicals when I was in medic school. And once I got my, once I finished medic school the first time, they were heavily recruiting me to work there. And I was like, I don't have my medic yet or whatever. So when I finally got my medic, they were like, you got to come now. You know, you got to come now. And I'm like, but I don't want to do the fire. And they're like, really? I said, only thing I want to do fire related is technical rescue stuff.
Right.
And you got to be a firefighter to do that because that's where that training comes from. I was like, and they were like, okay, and we'll pay for you to go to the fire academy. I was like, all right. So that's how I ended up at the fire department. And so this is March of 2020. So she's in Charlotte. I'm in St. Louis, me and the dog, because everybody else is gone. And I was supposed to go to the fire academy to get my professional certification, because you can work as a firefighter, but to be professionally certified, you got to go through this 14-week fire academy. So I can do full fires. I can only do the second phase, which is overhaul. So once the fire is extinguished, in whole or in part, you go in with the pipe poles and you poke holes in the walls and the ceilings to look for hot spots and put them out.
Okay,
you can do that without getting certified.
I've seen that in the movies.
Yeah, so they would let me do all that stuff or whatever. So the fire academy was supposed to start April 13th, 2020. They shut it down because everything was shut down.
Oh wow!
You know, and I was like, maybe this is a sign. You know, because I was like, if I was in the fire academy, I would have. I can't leave.
Right. So then so then at this point, you retire from being an EMT and you did not continue to progress in that career. And instead, you went a whole other left field and did what your mom said was put your name on the building. And you started becoming a curator. Is that right?
So in late 2020, so this is November 2020, a friend of mine for over 30 years had a business idea. Now, before I got into EMS for almost 20 years, I was a geek. I was a computer nerd. And so I was working on the hardware side. I was working for Fortune 500 companies. I was doing building computers from scratch. I was doing networking. I was doing customer and tech support type work.
Right.
Also, I had my own company. I didn't have an LLC, but I had my own company. I was the precursor to Geek Squad. So I was going to do a home business. I had a number of small contracts, if you want to call it that, with a number of different companies doing their tech support. My friend, he wanted to start a business, but he was like, I don't know how to do all the technicals. I don't know how to start a website and do all the social media.
Yeah, because you do the website, you do logos. I was looking at the website that you have. It's called Pending.
PensonPending.com.
Yes.
Yeah. So I created that website. So everything on there, I did all of that. Only thing I didn't do was the logo. My stepdaughter, who was on our team, my older stepdaughter,
that's cool.
Kyla, she designed that logo.
Oh wow! So, let me go back and look at it. Again. Let me see here.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow! Okay, it's on my computer. I'm streaming live on YouTube as well, so I'll put that real quick on their page so they can see. And then, of course, the playback of this will be on my YouTube, and I'm going to edit it again, make it a little different. But this is what he's talking about. So this is what your stepdaughter has made.
So that tree with the pending and the consultant solutions, we designed that jointly, but she put everything together.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Wow.
So that whole the whole design is based on one of the patches that I earned when I got my medic certification. It's actually the patch that you get when you get your paramedic certification when you pass your written test. And so that's the outer portion of it with the rocker at the bottom. So in the rocker, it has the consultant solutions on there.
Okay.
But yeah, so my friend, he wanted me to help him with our technical stuff. I was like, cool. And then I had a friend of mine who's a nurse. She grows herbs and she dries them and sells them. She wanted to know how to do that. How could she create all her technical stuff? And I was like, man, that would be a great business to start. Because I was waiting to go to nursing school, but you have to be a resident of North Carolina for a year to not have to pay the big out-of-state fees.
Yeah.
And so while I was waiting, I'm like, oh man, maybe I can start this business or whatever. So that's how Pen Consulting Solutions LLC started. And because I have a number of certifications still, and I still have an active medical license in the state of Missouri, I said, well, I still get pulled to do all this medical stuff. People call me. I got students that still call me because I'm still a preceptor. I got family members and friends that always ask me medical questions and advice and all this stuff. So I'm like the family doctor in a sense. I'm like,
Sure.
plus I have a Stop the Bleed certification. So I'm an instructor and a trainer.
Wow.
And among other things.
And
so
you know what's amazing?
Like,
you know what's amazing to me at the most out of it all? Is that you started at 37.
You know, I'm a late bloomer.
But I like that because that it gets to inspire those who are as well a late bloomer. And the sometimes if it's not accepted yet, then you feel am I alone? And to feel alone is not cool, you know? So I want to bring different people like I am and finding special people like you to be on my show to bring that feeling to somebody, to say, you know what, you're not alone. Like, this is okay to be at this age to then decide what you want. So I personally love that. And now, not only that, you have motivated your stepdaughter to use her talent because she did an awesome job. So I think that's cool. You know what you also do? You also offer mental awareness. And throughout this whole process of what you're doing, and how you became, you know, at a late time, and you're now helping other people. What kind of support if someone was out there right now and they're thinking, you know, like, I need a little bit of help, but I don't want to go to somebody I know, or I don't want to go to somebody that's around me. I just want somebody that's like out of my area. What kind of support do you offer?
So I don't do therapy. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not even a coach. My mental health expertise comes from the pre-hospital, which most people refer to as EMS perspective. What I do with mental health is I provide conversations, information, and resources. We have a number of podcasts that we're in development. The first one is going to be starting next month on April 20th. It's called the Trigger Warning Talk Podcast. There's no therapy that I do at all. Anything that I did therapeutic-wise would be when I was actively working in the field. Now that I'm not working in the field, I can talk from an expertise level in terms of here's how I would approach this mental health situation if I were on a 911 call. So if I got a call for somebody that was having a panic attack, an anxiety attack, all the way to somebody that was having some issue EMS related with xenophobia, you know, I can go in and assess that situation. Are they stable or unstable? That's the second thing I need to know. Because if they're stable, I'm going to do a stay and play. If they're unstable, we're going to load and go, typically, you know. And so as a first responder, I can talk about anything mental health related from A to Z, because not only from the training that I've gotten in school, but what I've done continuing education wise. So with this Trigger Warning Talk podcast that we're getting ready to do, that podcast is going to be led by me. It's going to come from three perspectives. So pre-hospital, EMS. It's going to be in hospital. A friend of mine who's a nurse, she's an RN. She
Okay.
has a certification that's called SANE, SANE, Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner. She does the rape kits for people that come in that are sexually assaulted.
Okay.
And then we have a couple of rape advocates that are going to be talking about out of hospital support for the person that the
I love that.
survivors
Okay. Wow.
from the point that they were assaulted all the way to whatever the end game is. So whether that's advocacy, whether that's therapy, whatever it may be. The four things that we're going to be talking about are domestic violence, sexually based offenses, human and sex trafficking, and missing persons. It's going to be unfiltered, brutally honest conversation, you know, uncensored, real talk. I'm looking at my board now, 8 people already ready to go. I've already done most of my pre-interviews. And because I'm the guy that's leading this, there's no other male, no other first responder that's doing anything that I'm talking about doing.
Sure.
At all.
And where is the podcast on? What system? What app?
We're going to be doing it. The audio version will be via Anchor.
Okay.
And it'll be streamed on all platforms, Google, Apple, everything that I can get it on. It's going to be streamed.
Okay. Cool.
But
Anchor
is going to be our program we're using. And we're also going to be doing it. I don't know if we're going to do live or recorded video, but that'll be via StreamYard. So it'll be like a Zoom thing. Okay. But yeah, we're ready to go.
Just do both. Okay.
And so that's one. Another podcast we're doing is going to be called Men, and that stands for Men's Empowerment Network.
Okay.
And that's going to be focused on men's issues from A to Z. So if we have, one of the show topics will be, do you know how to burp your baby? Because I worked in a program years ago before I got into EMS, where we worked with guys that were 16 to 25, helping fathers, stepfathers, and expectant fathers. So whatever they needed help with, and these guys lived in poor and impoverished communities. So
you know what's great about that is the fact that not a lot of people know this, but a lot of people in the medical world, no matter if you're a receptionist to the back end, no matter what part of it is, that you always get taught CPR, right? Because they teach you CPR to prevent any situation that if it causes upon you, you can help out and not freak out. So with anything, it is important to learn a little bit of something so you don't freak out. So for instance, the baby has gas and the baby's like burping and I'm crying and crying and crying and crying. You're like, oh my God, man, I already fed this baby. I already changed the baby. I changed the diaper twice. Like, what is wrong with this baby? You know, so like, but when you already know a little bit of information that you're teaching, that you're going to be teaching on this, it's going to give that, what you said prior in the beginning of this, as an EMT, how to be more stable and prepare. And as you have that vibration, it comes out of you and that baby feels it. So I think that's great and amazing. And if you're a man, like, I definitely think tap in, because there's no book on parenting. But there's advice that he's going to be giving, and it's going to help, because you don't want to have a baby crying like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, and not just with babies. We're talking about any issue that a man can face, whether you are a man without kids or a man with kids. We're talking about divorce issues. We're talking about custody issues. We're talking about financial literacy, pre-incarceration, incarceration, post-incarceration. So if you are a returning citizen, meaning somebody that's getting out of jail, let's say you have a felony and you're like, man, I don't want to be one of these people that ends up being one of the statistics when it comes to recidivism and getting back in jail because I can't get a job. What do I do? Hey, so we're going to talk to you about earning some industry approved and accredited technical certification, because you may not get hired at a company because they don't want you in their brick and mortar place because of this felony. However, these same companies will hire you if you can code, if you can develop an app,
Mm-hmm.
You can write your own ticket. So, and there's a lot of places you can go to take some of these certifications free.
Right.
Why don't you do that? Because not only can you get hired at these companies, because you're going to be working virtually at home, or you might take your computer, your laptop to a Starbucks or a library or
Or
whatever.
even a park now, because you can have
Yeah, in the
internet
park.
anywhere.
Yeah, and also
Very
you
true.
have the option. You have the option of becoming your own boss, creating your own company, because you can become a virtual assistant and outsource your services to anybody, any company, whether they're a Fortune 500 to somebody that has one employee and that's themselves or whatever, but they
True.
need help with whatever it is as a virtual assistant. That
Right.
is a that is a business that has created its own self, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and opportunities. So we talk about that. Don't let this felony or felonies keep you from earning a living. And as somebody that can develop an app, you can make six figures easy.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
You
I wish
know, a
I
lot
knew how
of
to
these
make an app.
jobs, yeah, a lot of these jobs, if you got a technical certification, you can make
Yeah.
minimum 60K a year.
Wow. Interesting. I didn't know
You
that.
you don't need a 2-year or 4-year degree to get these certifications.
Okay. True.
But we talk about that. We talk
Okay.
about
But that
everything that
hasn't
a man
started yet. What
has to do.
when is the date of this?
That's still in development
Okay.
because we got
So
a lot
so
of
basically
components that we
you
got to
gotta
do.
go and hit that
But
follow
that'll be
button.
this summer.
Yeah, hit that follow. Where do you give out your most information on things? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Where do you give out your announcements?
Through all our social media platforms, primarily Instagram,
Okay.
Facebook, Clubhouse,
Okay.
our website information. I got to start doing reels, you know, because I've never
Mm-hmm.
done a reel or anything like that. So TikTok and Snapchat and all this stuff or
Yeah.
whatever. So I might get my stepdaughter. I got two stepdaughters. So the one that's still with us, she'll be 17 next month.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have her help me do these reels.
True. My daughter, I love to motivate and inspire people, and I tell everybody, like, if you have Instagram, if you have TikTok, and if you have all this social media, then you should be having YouTube as well. Like, why don't you?
Yeah.
So she hears me say this a lot. I do a lot of live shows, and so she opened up her own YouTube. At first, I didn't even know about it for a couple of weeks, and then I found
Wow.
out, and then she had it for 2 months, and she's already at 4K.
Really?
Yeah, so the younger youth definitely knows what they're doing. So definitely, that's get her involved, inspire her, because the future is the internet. So it's better to teach them now, and also it'll give you a bond, because the computer is what they're doing. Roblox. I don't know at 17, but but I know at a younger age. So you have this company. Can you explain a little bit of like what it entails? On the website, it says that you provide multiple services: house worship, business, schools, the community, and then it says, obviously, I guess it's the podcast, is what the perspective of the EMS hospital. Is that what that means on the website? Give us a little bit of explain what you do now.
So primarily when we started, we were helping any entrepreneur, no matter what your job was, whether you made accessories to zebra print shirts, we would help you do all the back office administrative tasks for your company. So if you need help forming an LLC for your company, because that protects you, it indemnifies you from your personal assets. You want to make sure you don't pierce the corporate veil, which means your money that you make personally should be totally separate from the money that your company generates or whatever.
Right.
Otherwise, the government is like, what's going on?
Right.
We create HR and payroll manuals for you if you have employees. My wife is a payroll professional at her job. She works for a Fortune 100 company, and she's been in payroll for over 20 years.
Okay.
We provide information on creating social media platforms. We'll create your Facebook page, Instagram pages, and all that. We'll upload your content if you don't want to do it or you just don't have the time to do it. So kind of like virtual assistants. And again, we were talking about doing this before the term virtual assistant became a thing, or even a term. Also, with the medical consultation,
that's
so
how
we do
the secret works. Manifestation. Yeah. If you don't work on it quickly, it goes into the air and someone else hears it in their ear.
Else. Yeah. But we didn't use the term virtual assistant. So whoever came up with that was ingenious, you know. But as far as the other portion of the company, the medical consultation, so we do active violent incident training, which in the media, most people refer to as active shooter hostile events. I have a working partnership with two individuals. One, his name is Dexter Doc Peggins. He was a retired military combat medic for over 25 years total, 23 years with the Army. First two was as a Marine.
Wow.
He has a company called Still Standing LLC. We also both are certified Stop the Bleed instructor trainers. We traveled last year, Doc and I traveled to Sunnyvale, California, which is a suburb of San Jose. This is the heart of Silicon Valley. We did a stop the training for the executive protection team for LinkedIn headquarters.
Wow. I mean, I don't know what any of it is, but it sounds like big.
No, LinkedIn. Yeah, you've heard of LinkedIn, right?
No, but it sounds like you stepped into something humongous.
Yeah, LinkedIn, they're basically like your online resume company.
Okay.
You know, and people it's almost like a social media platform too, but a lot of people put their professional bios on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is worldwide, you know. They're right up there with Facebook and Instagram and all.
When you apply for jobs now, it says, do you want to do Indeed or LinkedIn or whatever?
There you go.
Oh, I always choose Indeed. Okay.
Well, that's fine because they were before LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is kind of, they're like, do you want a BMW or do you want a Benz? And I think LinkedIn is even getting bigger than that. So, definitely.
I have research.
So we were there. And so these people that we train, they do the security for all the executives. So it was 10 of their top security personnel that we did to Stop the Bleed training. It was a 4-hour training.
Wow.
So we'll travel across the country doing that stuff.
Okay.
The active violent incident training that we do, the other partnership that we have is with Professor Griff of Public Enemy. And I'll tell you real quick how that happened. Professor Griff has a YouTube channel called Serious Mind. Serious like the satellite channel, and Mind spelled with a Z on YouTube. Every Monday, he used to do a show called Melanin Monday where he would talk about health and wellness issues in the Black community. And so Professor Griff also is a certified firearm safety instructor with the NRA and the U.S. Concealed Carry Association. He did a show early September of 2021 called What's in Your IFAC? And an IFAC is an acronym for Individual First Aid Kit. It's a tactical first aid kit. It doesn't have bandages and Band-Aids and all this stuff. It has tourniquets, chest seals, emergency blankets, hemostatic gauzes. These are for stabbings. Like stabbings, gunshot wounds, you know, serious, life-threatening, lethal bleeds.
Yes. Okay.
And so we got on his live. I was on his live feed. Doc was on his live feed. We were chatting with Professor Griff.
Okay, give me a second.
Talking about what you should have in your IFAC.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Just 1 second, sorry. 1 second.
No, that's okay.
This is for... Okay. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were chatting. I was chatting along with all the other people that were chatting on this YouTube page. And Doc came in, and I never had met Doc, you know. So he was chatting with Griff. I was chatting with Griff along with all the other people, you know, because there was a couple hundred people in there. And so we were talking about what you should have in your IFAC, because you can buy IFACs like off of Amazon or some other sites.
Mm-hmm.
And each IFAC has different stuff depending on the company that's packaging it. You can also create your own. You can buy your own and make your own individual IFAC, as well as other first aid kits or whatever. So we were talking about that. In the end, Griff was like, anybody that wants to partner with me to help teach our people how to utilize this equipment, please hit me up. My number is 678-557-2919. That's Professor Griff's number. He gives it out all the time for years to anybody. He's like, text me.
And still to this day, is it the same number?
To this day, 678-557-2919. You know, so now he has two cell phones. He has his personal one, but that's his business line or whatever. So he's like, text me. I text him. He called me back. Now, I told Griff, I said, look, we're probably going to be on the phone 6 minutes, maybe 5 or 6 minutes. You know, I respect your time, because it was like 10 o'clock in the evening. He's in the East Coast too. So I'm in Charlotte. He's in the Georgia area. I said, I got to give you 1 minute of fandom, because I grew up on Public Enemy and KRS-One and all this stuff. I'm like, I got all your records when you were, you know, put out the group and all this stuff. I had all your stuff or whatever. So he started laughing. He was like, appreciated that. So Doc, Griff, and myself did a Zoom call, and that was for like 2 hours. And it was phenomenal, the stuff we were talking about. So we started doing a weekly show on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern time for about an hour, where we would talk about how to survive in real time. And this was just to anybody that wanted to listen in. Mm-hmm. We started covering breaking news stories. So we would talk about, we did a show on the Travis Scott.
The news reporter came out.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did a show on the Travis Scott fiasco, because we said, okay, what do you do if you're at that concert and people start getting crushed to death and going into cardiac arrest, and you don't have any equipment on you? Mm-hmm. We talked about, there was a story here in North Carolina at a Food Line grocery store where an employee got into an altercation with a patron, got stabbed in his arm and his leg, and had this massive spurting arterial bleed, which is a lethal bleed. What do you do if you're at the store, whether you're an employee or just another patron, and this person is bleeding out? So we talked about what to do. If you don't have an IFAC there in the store, you can go to any grocery store has a pharmacy. You can go there and get all kind of first aid supplies. Mm-hmm. Or whatever. But we talk about those things. We talk about how to improvise a tourniquet if you don't have one on you. You know, we talked about the Ethan Crumley shooting in Michigan, where he killed those 4 students. So we talk about run, hide, fight. That whole concept, if you're in an active shooting situation.
Right.
We've done like 10 shows, and they're all still on, they're still all archived, I would say, on his page. I'll send you an email with my bio with all those links.
I'd like to check it out. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So we talk about active violent incidents. We talk about stop the bleed training. We talk about mental health. We also talk about creating emergency operation plans for houses of worship, schools, businesses, and the community and families at large. Mm-hmm. So somebody reached out to me the other day, and they heard about what I was talking about, and they said, how do I create an emergency plan? Talk about emergency preparedness or disaster preparedness, mm-hmm. which most people know as preppers. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be a prepper, Doc is the guy, because he wrote a book on disaster and emergency preparedness. He actually still works for the government as a contractor. He works for Homeland Security. He teaches emergency preparedness. He wrote a book on actually that, on what supplies you should have. We teach people how to create a 72-hour emergency go bag.
That's amazing.
We talk about all of this stuff. So we cover all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, in life, there's billions of people out there. Some people are like looking for like 1K or like $1 million, but in reality, there's billions of people out there. To touch every single person's heart is like really hard, but it is possible, because there are people out there who have billions of views. But what I like is that we all have different situations in life that happens. You became someone that went to school to learn all of this, but life does not stop. It continues. We have kids after. They continue. So different situations, like the word innovation means when something else is created from something else. Now, this happens in career, this happens in your own business that you're creating, but this also happens to each of our souls because situations happen, but in different ways. So it's always good to learn different ways of preparing because when you're prepared, like he said in the beginning, instead of being all shaky, you're going to be more stable. And to be stable, you're going to be able to address the situation. So I think that's
Absolutely.
cool. Okay.
I'll say this, since you brought up mental health, I have a saying that I created.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health crisis is the world's oldest continuous pandemic that's been around since day one of mankind. It ain't going nowhere. Not only do we have to take ownership of our crap, again, I'm not going to curse, we also have to address the taboos, the stigmas, and the stereotypes that are associated with mental health,
Right.
which is why I'm trying to do everything that I can do to lead the charge and be the advocate that I was actively when I was working for someone else. I'm taking that same advocacy and that same energy and applying it to my own company. Because, take for example, me. I don't know if you know Will Baptiste.
I'm done.
He's in a lot of these clubhouse streets talking about men's issues also.
No.
And so Will came up with this great analogy when it comes to men not showing their emotions. And he said, men don't show their emotions because he gave 3 examples. I'm going to change one of the guys that he mentioned. He said, remember when Tyrese went on his IG Live a couple of years ago and he was talking about his custody issues, not being able to see his daughter?
Mm-hmm.
What happened to Tyrese? He became a crying meme. When Michael Jordan won his enshrinement, or not won, he was nominated and enshrined into the Hall of Fame, the NBA Hall of Fame. And he was up there talking about his whole career and all this stuff. What happened to Jordan? He became this major crying meme that went viral, that somebody created. Will Smith, when he was on his wife Jada's Red Table Talk, and they were talking about the famous entanglement episode,
Mm-hmm.
and he was tearing up. What happened to Will Smith? He became a crying meme. So Will said, you know, men look at that and they say, if these celebrity men who are rich and wealthy can be made the butt of jokes, can be going viral on a negative issue, can be made to be the laughing stock.
Mm-hmm.
I remember using some of those Jordan crying memes for different conversations that I had with people on social media. And I thought, man, I was so wrong for that. If those guys can be made fun of because they showed emotion, what about little LP?
Mm-hmm.
That's why men don't want to show their emotions. If I want to talk crap, I can go to the barbershop. I'm bringing the barbershop to social media. I'm bringing these conversations to the forefront. You're not going to hear the barbershop conversations if you're not in the barbershop.
True.
But that's when men talk about stuff, that's typically where they talk about it.
Yeah.
A place like that because they feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
They feel surrounded by their own, brothers or what have you and all this stuff. And so when it comes to mental health, also, I tell everybody, especially when I'm talking to women, we grow up with a different set of R's. Everybody grows up learning reading, writing, and arithmetic. We grow up with a different set of R's. That's being rough, rugged, and raw. I can't tell you how many times I had male cousins and uncles that would come up to me and just punch me in the chest because they're like, you got to be tough.
Oh my God,
you can't be crying. You know what I was told by a family member when I was a kid? A male family member. He said, there's only a few reasons that I ever want to see you cry. Somebody better be dead or dying. You better be crushed between like 2 cars. You better have fallen off a building, not out of a tree, off of a building, or you better have a bone sticking out of your skin.
Right.
If none of those things are happening, I better not see you cry.
Right, right. And I think that a lot of people from back then were grown up that way, but without
Yeah,
realizing that there's this thing, and it's called emotions. And there's this other thing
emotions.
that it talks the inside of your head, and then you hear voices in your head, and it makes you go like, oh my God. And if you don't feel those things, then you are going to go, oh my God, I feel going crazy. So, I mean, it
That's
is
right.
important to feel definitely. I mean, and I think that's cool because like we're saying, this is how we were raised, but now we're here to say it's okay to feel this way,
Hmm.
and that's what you're giving out. And I definitely love that. I'm going to show everybody real quick your uh, website here that I have put up. And then
Thank you.
everybody can go on and check him out by going onto his Instagram. His name on the website is Penton Pending. He does consulting solutions. He was a EMT, and I brought him on the show today because he was a retired EMT, and this is about becoming who you are meant to be. He's showing that he's not become who he is meant to be fully yet. So he is doing what God has been telling him for a long time, but he had to go through this process, it looks like, to create what we have in front of us here. So I think that that's amazing. I feel like that's inspiring. I met him through an app called Clubhouse, and the link is in the IG. I'm sure he has it in his IG too. Definitely
Yes.
join it. You meet real people. Like I got to meet somebody that is in a whole another world of mine. And I think that that is amazing. And there's so many ways to be inspired nowadays. So definitely just tap in, follow us, and get inspired by us. Playback on this is on YouTube. It is going live on YouTube now. So I'm going to be editing it and then sharing it on the next online news. My online news is released every 7th of the month. I'll be passing it around, and the purpose of it is to inspire and show people the different talents I find. So thank you. I really say thank you for joining on. You're actually the first person on Clubhouse to join. I started these interviews 2 years ago. I've only done a couple of them as I
Okay.
have a crazy situation at home all the time. So there's never peace. God, I pray for God today to make this interview run smooth. And honestly, it came out perfect. I am so happy. And I really hope that I get to inspire someone. I hope you get to inspire someone. There's this person who said that their dad was a firefighter. So I like the
Yeah.
fact that we got to touch someone's heart that brought a memory to them. So that's what this is about. So thank you for joining. If anybody wants to go on Google, if you go to hashtag self dreamers, just like my username, that is my business card through Google. You just go on there, all my content's there, check it out. The video will be up there. So definitely tap in, follow him. And if you need help, the cool thing about his business page is there's a chat. It says right here that you can go on. So if you have any questions, you can just type in into the chat, and I'm sure it's him that will respond when he can.
It's all me. It, so the quickest way to get in touch with me,
Okay.
if you want, uh, instead of me giving all my links and all that stuff, I have a digital business card.
Okay.
It's called a 10K card. My digital business card. If you Google me and you type in LP, my initials LP10K as in Keith, LP10K.com. It'll give you my digital business card, and you can show that on the screen. It'll show you all the links to all my social media. It'll give you all the content links to the things that I'm talking about doing. So
Okay.
if you type in lp10k.com, if you put that in the URL or just Google that, it'll give you my digital content. And that way
Sure. So
also,
you
like
got to
when I
create
go out,
your layout
yeah,
like this.
yeah.
Somebody else's
And
I
so
thought was
like I
red. Okay.
use that.
Okay. So you
Right.
get to choose
So
the
when I'm out,
colors. Okay. Cool.
I
Interesting.
don't
Okay.
I don't do all that part. That's the company that does the cards. But I can switch those icons around and different things like that. That's a good thing to invest in if you have a business. This is LP. If you have a business, I don't care what the business is, you need to get you a digital business card. I recommend the 10K card because it's very customizable. It's very professional. You can edit it, and never buy another paper business card, because here's the issue between a digital card and a paper card. You got to carry paper cards around. You got to constantly reorder them. You know, if there's an editing error, which I experienced that before, then you got to order a whole nother set of cards and all that stuff. People don't keep paper cards typically. You end up finding them in trash cans. You find them on the floor. People use them to clean their fingernails out and all this stuff or whatever. They end up killing trees. So get you a digital business card, because that way, when I went to a gun seminar the other day, I was talking with a couple of the instructors, and we're getting ready to do some business. And they were like, "You got a card?" I was like, "Yeah." And I pulled the phone out, and they kind of strange. I said, "Pull your phone out." And I brought up my digital business card, my icon. They were able to take their phone. So if you and I were together and I said, "I want to give you my contact information," I would say, "Pull out your phone." So here's my phone. That's my beautiful wife, Chrissy. So shout out to her.
Hi, okay.
You see that icon right there? If I touch on it, it brings up my digital business card. If I scroll up, there's a scan my card. If you touch that, it gives you my QR code. You can take a picture of that with your phone, and it's going to give you that digital business card, so you don't have to remember LP.
Right there. Yeah, definitely.
You don't have to remember
crazy
that.
Because back, I say, is 3 years ago, maybe 3 years now, I made an actual business card. I put QR codes on it, and I tried passing this out, and nobody knew what that was.
Right.
So now they know, but I like the concept, and I like that you can get paid. Here, maybe Herbalife will make her happy.
You might have to.
Yeah,
you might have to give her some technical advice.
Yeah, but it was cool to meet you. Thank you. But I like the idea. I mean, right now I use a hashtag as my business card. But the difference, I think you told me, was I could actually get referrals for that. So it's definitely something to look into, I think. So one day I'll look into it. For now, I just use my hashtag. But it takes time to build one. And this, you're saying it's just automatic. So
automatic. Same day. You know, they have different prices depending on what type of digital business cards you want. Just hit me up and we can talk about it at a later time.
Yeah, definitely. I like it. Okay, cool. Well, it was nice meeting you. Say bye, Selena. She says bye.
Bye.
But thank you.